The second I launched this game, I knew something was wrong, and I don't mean the normal kind of wrong, not like broken graphics, laggy menus, or a cheap jump scare. No, this felt heavier, the kind of wrong that makes the hairs on your arms stand up, like the whole room just shifted, like maybe you weren't sitting alone at your desk anymore. The screen didn't even load a title menu, no flashy logo, no start game, just this single image, a hallway. Dim, silent, stretching off into darkness. At first, I honestly thought my PC froze. I tapped the keyboard, moved the mouse, nothing. For almost a full minute, I sat there staring, debating whether to restart. And then, out of nowhere, bang. A locker slammed shut, loud enough that I ripped my headphones off because I couldn't tell if it came from the game or from inside my actual room. My chest tightened, my heart racing, and I had that instant thought, oh, this is gonna be one of those games. The ones that crawl under your skin and make you question reality. I chuckled nervously, trying to brush it off. Okay, nice one, game, you got me. But in the back of my mind, something didn't feel right. The silence after that slam wasn't normal silence. It was thick, heavy, like the kind of silence where you know someone else is breathing in the dark with you. Then, without warning, the screen flickered. Static hissed for half a second, and suddenly I wasn't staring at a hallway anymore. I was staring at a classroom, a completely ordinary-looking classroom, desks lined up in perfect rows, chalkboard at the front, and those gross buzzing fluorescent lights humming above. On the surface, nothing scary, but the longer I looked, the more uneasy I got, because I noticed the door at the back. The only exit was chained shut. Naturally, I tried moving toward it, thinking maybe it was part of a puzzle, but no matter how many times I clicked, nothing happened. No sound, no animation, just locked, and that's when the chalkboard caught my eye. Letters began scratching across it, slow and jagged, like an invisible hand was carving the words into the surface. Sit down. My stomach dropped. I turned back toward the desks and froze, because now they weren't empty anymore. That was the moment I realized whatever this game was, I wasn't alone in it anymore. But what happened next? That's where everything went downhill fast. The next story doesn't give you any time to breathe. 1 second I was staring at that haunted classroom, and the next, boom, I was dropped into a gymnasium. You know the kind, wide open, polished wooden floors, basketball hoops at each end, and this weird echo that makes even your own footsteps sound like someone's following right behind you. At first it almost felt safe, empty, quiet, no shadows lurking, no creepy chalkboards. For a brief moment, I thought maybe this level was more about puzzles than scares. Big mistake, because just when I started walking across the court, it happened. A whistle, sharp, piercing. It cut through the silence so hard I physically flinched. The kind of whistle that coaches use when you're slacking off in gym class. But this time, there was no coach. Nobody, just me, standing there frozen in the middle of the floor. I spun around, scanning the bleachers. Nothing, just dust, old paint peeling off the walls, and the faint squeak of my shoes on the floor. I let out this nervous laugh, thinking maybe it was some ambient sound effect, and then it blew again. Not once, not twice, over and over, each blast echoing louder, bouncing around the empty gym like someone invisible was right there with me, calling the shots. That's when I noticed the scoreboard. I swear, the thing lit up on its own. The numbers flickered, and then it froze at 0001. 1 second on the clock. I squinted at it, confused, thinking maybe this was some sort of countdown puzzle. But no, this was different, because the second it lit up, I felt the atmosphere in the room change. The air got heavier, thicker, like breathing through water. My palms were sweating so bad I could barely keep my hand steady on the mouse. And then came the sound that almost made me rip off my headset. The bleachers creaked slowly, like someone heavy was walking across them. I froze. My whole body went stiff, every muscle screaming not to move. I could hear each board bending under the weight of something that wasn't supposed to be there. Step, 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 the sound echoed, deliberate, purposeful. I stared at the shadows, squinting, praying it was just part of the background design. But deep down I knew something was up there, watching, waiting. Meanwhile, the scoreboard ticked. That 1 second, it wasn't staying still anymore. It was flashing, glitching, almost pulsing with light. 0001, 0000, back to 0001. My chest was so tight I could barely breathe. I knew, when that clock hit 0, something was going to happen. Something bad, and then, just like that, the countdown started. Tick, tick, tick. Each second echoed like a heartbeat, pounding louder, faster, rattling my nerves until I could barely hear my own thoughts. I wanted to move, to run, but my hands wouldn't even leave the keyboard. I was locked in, staring at that glowing red timer, praying it would glitch out before it hit 0. But of course it didn't, and when that clock finally ran out, when it flashed that last second 0, what happened next? That's when the real nightmare began, and trust me, you won't believe what came out when the clock hit 0. By the time we reached the third story, I thought I'd gotten used to the game's tricks. The creepy classroom, the cursed gym whistle. I kept telling myself, okay, it's just atmosphere, it's just coding. But then the hallway happened. And this one felt too real. It starts simple. You're dropped into a school hallway. Lockers on both sides, pale green paint peeling off the walls, a faint buzzing from half, dead ceiling lights. At first glance it was just boring, but the second I started walking, I realized something wasn't right. The hallway didn't end. I took maybe 20 steps, then 30, then 50, and the exit door at the far end stayed exactly where it was. Always the same distance away. I tried sprinting, same thing. The hallway stretched, warped, like it was alive. And then came the footsteps, not mine. These were heavier, slower, echoing behind me. I stopped dead, listening, my heart thumping so hard it drowned out the hum of the lights. Step, step, step. I spun around. Nothing. The hallway looked different, though. The lockers behind me weren't neat anymore. They were twisted, dented, some hanging open like jaws waiting to snap shut. The walls were cracked, the tiles smeared with something dark I didn't want to name. I whispered out loud, nope, 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 trying to laugh it off, but my throat was so dry it barely came out. The footsteps got louder, closer, and then the lights started flickering, not randomly either. They flickered in rhythm with the steps. Every time it moved, another bulb died, one by one, until the darkness was crawling toward me like a wave. Panic set in. I bolted for the exit, my fingers slamming the keyboard, praying the game would let me through this time. And for a second, hope kicked in. The glowing red exit sign finally came into view. My chest was heaving, my heart hammering, sweat dripping down my face even though I wasn't the one running. But then I felt it, breath, right on the back of my neck, hot, damp, too real to be coming from a game. I froze in place, hands trembling on the mouse. I couldn't even bring myself to turn around. And just when I thought I couldn't take it anymore, just when I reached for that glowing exit door, that's when everything went wrong. Because what was waiting on the other side of that door was worse than the hallway itself. I slammed my hand on the keyboard, desperate to push through that glowing red exit sign, and finally, door opened. For one split second, I felt relief, like maybe the nightmare was finally over. But the second I stepped through, I knew I'd made a mistake, because it wasn't freedom on the other side. It was another hallway, but this one was worse, much worse. The walls were warped, almost bending inward like the whole building was breathing around me. The lockers were torn open, jagged metal sticking out like teeth. The floor tiles were cracked, sticky, and every step made this disgusting squelch sound. Like I was walking on something alive, and the sound. Oh God, the sound. The footsteps weren't behind me anymore. They were everywhere, surrounding me, above me, like dozens of things were crawling just beyond the flickering lights, waiting for the bulbs to go out completely. I tried running again, sprinting toward the faint light ahead, but the hallway kept twisting. It didn't go straight anymore. It bent, shifted, branched off like a maze. Every time I turned a corner, it felt like I was looping back into the same place, the same rusted lockers, the same buzzing light, and then I heard it, a voice, whispering my name. I froze, staring at the screen, my stomach dropping into my shoes. There was no way the game knew my name, right. I thought it had to be some random sound effect, but then it whispered again, clearer, sharper, dragging each syllable like it wanted to savor it. My name. I ripped off my headset, thinking maybe my brain was just tricking me. But when I put it back on, the whisper was still there, louder, closer. My palms were sweating so badly I almost dropped the mouse, but I forced myself forward. The exit was there, another glowing red sign, another door. I kept muttering under my breath, just get through it, just get through it, just get through it. I grabbed the handle, pushed it open, and for a split second the screen went black, silent, empty, and then the game loaded something I never expected, because what was waiting past that second exit wasn't even part of the school anymore. When the screen faded back in, I realized immediately this wasn't the school anymore. At first, it was just static. White noise hissing in my headphones, the kind that makes your skin crawl like something's hiding inside the sound. Then shapes began forming out of the fuzz. Hallways, lockers, classrooms, but not like before. They were glitching, warping, melting into each other like the whole game was falling apart, and then the static cleared completely. My stomach dropped, because now, on the screen, I wasn't looking at some creepy classroom or cursed hallway anymore. I was looking at my own desktop exactly as it looked in real life, same wallpaper, same icons, same open folders. The game had mirrored it perfectly, down to the files I swore I hadn't touched in years. For a second, I thought maybe I'd been booted out, that the game crashed and threw me back to Windows. But then, the cursor moved. On its own, it slid across the screen like invisible fingers were dragging it, hovering over one specific folder, a folder with my name on it. I froze. My chest was pounding so hard I could barely breathe, and then, as if to taunt me, the cursor clicked. The screen flickered. The game reopened. But now the title screen looked different. The usual start game and settings options were gone. There was only one new choice sitting in the middle of the screen. Continue where you left off. I didn't even want to touch the mouse. My hand was trembling too badly anyway, but my eyes locked on the text right below that option, and that's when my stomach twisted into knots. Because written there in glowing white letters was my real name, not Player One, not Guest. My actual name, perfectly spelled, staring back at me. I whispered, nope, nope, nope. I wanted to quit, to shut it down, to just turn off the PC. But deep down, I knew it wasn't going to be that easy, because the game wasn't asking me anymore. It was inviting me. And when I finally worked up the courage to click, I realized I should have never touched this game at all. So there I was, hand hovering over the mouse, staring at the words on the screen. Continue where you left off. My name glowing beneath it like the game had been waiting just for me. I sat there frozen, debating if I should click, and let me tell you, every bone in my body was screaming, don't do it. But of course I did. The second I clicked, the screen didn't load a level. It loaded a camera feed, not some random in-game camera either. This was real, grainy, black and white footage, and the worst part, I recognized it instantly. It was my room, the exact desk I was sitting at, my monitor, my chair, even the empty soda can I'd left on the side earlier, and there was me. On the screen, I could see myself hunched forward, staring into the monitor, only the version of me in the feed. He wasn't moving, he wasn't blinking, he was just sitting there, frozen, like a wax figure. I ripped off my headset, heart hammering in my chest, and slammed the power button on my PC. Black screen, silence, and for a moment I thought it was over, but when I glanced back at the monitor, even the The computer was off. I swear I saw my reflection blink. That's when I knew this game, it doesn't end when you quit. So yeah, 3 disturbing school stories that I will never forget. The classroom that trapped me, the gym whistle that counted down to disaster, and the hallway that hunted me down like prey. And then, of course, the game breaking into my reality like it was always one step ahead. Safe to say, I'm never opening that game at night again. But here's the question: if it was you, if the screen showed your name, your room, your reflection staring back, would you click continue? Thanks for watching, and hey, if your lights start flickering tonight after this video, just remember it's probably nothing. Probably.